Fleet Admiral Zixthak stared at the tactical display with mounting disbelief. The radiation readings from Kepler 442b's surface were off the charts, enough to kill most known species within minutes of exposure. Yet the human forces were not only alive, they were advancing. "Confirm those readings," he barked at his sensor operator, his mandibles clicking nervously. "Confirmed, Admiral." The humans detonated 17 fusion warheads across their own defensive positions 3 rotations ago. Current radiation levels are 50,000 rads per hour, lethal to all coalition species within, well, instantly. The bridge fell silent except for the steady hum of life support systems. Through the view screen, the planet's scarred surface glowed with an eerie amber light, the aftermath of humanity's desperate gambit. 3 months earlier, the hegemony had been confident of victory. Humans were a young species, barely 2 centuries into space travel. Their technology was primitive, their ships outgunned, their tactics conventional. When they'd refused to surrender their outer colonies, the alien coalition had simply shrugged and prepared for a swift conquest. The first battles had gone as expected. Human vessels, though surprisingly resilient, had fallen to superior hegemony firepower. The aliens had pushed deeper into human space, eventually cornering the bulk of the human fleet above this unremarkable world. That's when everything had gone wrong. "Sir," the communications officer reported, her voice trembling, "we're receiving a transmission from the human commander." "Put it through." The hologram that materialized showed a human female, her face streaked with ash, radiation burns visible on her neck. Behind her, figures in bulky armor moved through what could only be described as a hellscape. "Admiral Zixthak," she said, her voice steady despite everything. "I'm Colonel Sarah Chen, commanding officer of the 7th Terra Defense Corps. I believe you wanted to discuss terms?" Zixthak found his voice after a moment. "Colonel, your world is irradiated. Your people should be dead." Chen's smile was grim. "Funny thing about humans, Admiral. We're remarkably good at adapting to hostile environments. Our ancestors survived ice ages, volcanic winters, plague, and nuclear war. Did you really think a little radiation would stop us?" The view screen split, showing both the Colonel's transmission and real-time footage from drone reconnaissance. Zixthak watched in horrified fascination as human soldiers marched through the radioactive wasteland. Their powered armor was clearly modified. Thicker plating, enhanced shielding, extended life support. But it was more than just equipment. "Our medics tell us your people are somehow processing the radiation," Zixthak said. "How is this possible?" "Evolution, Admiral. Some of our bloodlines trace back to survivors of Earth's nuclear conflicts. We've had genetic therapies for radiation exposure for over a century. What kills your people, we've learned to live with." A new voice crackled over the comm, one of Zixthak's own field commanders. "Admiral, the humans aren't just surviving down there. They're thriving. Our ground forces are taking massive casualties. Every time we try to advance, they fall back to more irradiated zones. Our soldiers can't follow without dying." Chen nodded grimly. "We call it the nuclear option, Admiral, but not in the way most species understand it. We didn't nuke the battlefield to destroy it, we terraformed it. Made it uninhabitable to everyone but us." The tactical display updated, showing human forces spreading across the continent. They moved in coordinated formations, their radiation-hardened equipment functioning perfectly in conditions that would fry hegemony electronics within hours. Worse, they were setting up permanent installations, factories, command centers, supply depots. "You're not retreating," Zixthak realized. "You're expanding. Every world you take from us, we can take back. Every battle you win, we can turn into a graveyard that only we can walk through. Tell me, Admiral, how many of your worlds can survive what ours have become?" The bridge crew exchanged worried glances. The implications were staggering. If humans could weaponize radiation on this scale, turning entire planets into dead zones that only they could inhabit. "But the cost," Zixthak protested. "Your own people. We'll adapt as we always have." Chen's voice carried centuries of human stubbornness. "Some of us will get sick. Some will die. But enough will survive and their children will be stronger. That's how evolution works, Admiral. That's how humanity works." Another alert chimed on the tactical display. 3 more human colonies had just detonated nuclear weapons, not at attacking hegemony fleets but across their own surfaces. The message was clear. Any victory the aliens won would be Pyrrhic at best. "You're insane," Zixthak whispered. "We're survivors," Chen corrected. Our ancestors lived through the KT extinction, the Toba supervolcano, the Black Death, 2 world wars, and nuclear winter. We've been to hell and back more times than most species have been to their neighboring star systems. The question isn't whether we can survive this. Admiral, it's whether you can. Through the reconnaissance feed, Zixthak watched human engineers assembling what looked like mining equipment in the middle of a radioactive crater. They were already planning for the long term, turning their poisoned world into a fortress that no enemy could assault. What are your terms? He asked finally. Complete withdrawal from human space, a 50-year non-aggression pact, and recognition of our territorial boundaries. Chen paused, her scarred face hardening. Oh, and Admiral? If any hegemony forces are found in our space again, we'll assume you're immune to radiation too. We'll be happy to test that assumption. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Zixthak stared at the glowing world below, where humans continued their impossible march through atomic fire. He had come here expecting to conquer a primitive species. Instead, he had discovered something far more terrifying. A race so adaptable, so relentlessly determined to survive, that they could turn extinction itself into a weapon. Signal the fleet, he said quietly. Full withdrawal. And send a message to Hegemony Command. Recommend immediate cessation of hostilities with the human species. Classification, extinction level threat. As the alien ships retreated into hyperspace, Sarah Chen removed her helmet and breathed the poisoned air of her world. It tasted like ash and triumph. Humanity had learned long ago that sometimes the only way to win was to make victory too costly for anyone else to bear. They had turned their home into hell and made themselves its undisputed masters. The ashes were still warm, but humans were still marching.